Hello everybody, welcome back to another video by DissociaDID. This is a video that has been requested by our patrons. If you would like to join our Patreon, it is patreon.com/Kaya&Co or patreon.com/DissociaDID, and you can join it for free or from £1 a month. So, what has been suggested this month? The winning suggestion that was voted on was for another My Alters Draw Themselves video. We have 2 other videos in this series, but why do we do it? We originally started the My Alters Draw Themselves series to show how different alters have different preferences for things like colour, technique, even the way that we hold our hand, retaining knowledge in different ways, different levels of creativity, different personal styles. And we thought that this would be an interesting way to showcase not only how we view ourselves in the inner world in our own head, but also the ways in which alters can be unique from each other, even in ways that don't necessarily relate to keeping the body safe and alive. It's just who we are. So even though we share the same body, some alters might be much better at art than other people. Some people may be more artistically inclined. Some of them might both be artistically inclined, to take 2 alters as an example, but one really like the use of colour and another have a very sketchy style who prefers to work in black and white. So that said, let's...
Okay, so this is Mike's original drawing that he did in 5 minutes on a piece of scrap paper. So I pulled it into Procreate and I left him a note telling him basically what he needed to do. I said, Mike, redraw this please. Add a new layer or erase this writing and then draw. The pencil is set up like a normal pencil. You don't need to change it if you don't want to. Go wild, Soren. You can tell pretty much immediately that the way that Mike draws is very loose. It's very cartoony vibes. It's just him getting a feeling down on paper, which is quite different from the way that, for example, I Soren draw. He's not the most artistic of us, but like he gets the vibes down, you know what I mean? Like if you look at this and then you could see what he actually looked like inside, you'd be like, I can see the personality is in the drawing, but that's not what you look like. He also does write to himself as he's drawing, which was very amusing for me to watch back. And he coloured it, which is helpful. Yeah, he's correct. This does not look like him. But what he's got is that, yes, he does have the wavy, curly brown hair. He does wear beanies a lot inside. He has green eyes, Caucasian skin, and he's got that kind of face that you can look at him and you know that he's cheeky. You can look at him and you can see just from his face and the way, why the hell is your neck so thick? Nice lipstick, mate. You look gorgeous. Beautiful. Sorry. I mean, thank you for participating in the video. But yeah, you can look at him and it's kind of misleading because you look at him and he looks friendly, he looks cheeky, he looks approachable, which is how he gets you. And then he'll come out with the most absolutely in-your-face comments about his opinion on how you're living your life. And you just have to sit there and deal with it because he looks so sweet and innocent. He's actually here to cause chaos and problems and very little else. I'm kidding, Mike. I love you. Thank you. The next drawing we have is by Sally, and you'll be able to tell again immediately she's using a very different approach. She's used very light colours for her sketch, and she obviously is more talented. Sorry, Mike. Slightly more talented. Maybe technical, slightly more technical about the way that she draws in comparison to Mike, who's very cartoony. So Sally's got a very gentle, flowy, elegant style, which does actually match her personality. Not everyone's art is a mirror of their personality, but I would say that Sally's definitely is. She's got a better understanding of anatomy. She didn't just draw her face. She's gone for a full outfit and has made this look very dreamy. She's using an incredible amount of line work and detail to show her wavy hair. She's just very elegant, which matches well with her role in the system. She's very graceful inside and out. If you're unfamiliar with Sally or her role in the system is an inner world caretaker, especially taking care of littles and alters who are experiencing flashbacks or who are very distressed. She uses extremely thin lines, which is completely different from the way that both me and Mike and my sister draw. She also chose a very light color to outline and also to shade with. It's sort of a light pinky brown. She also spends more time on her drawing. She obviously wants it to look correct. She's more dedicated to what she's doing, whereas Mike just went for it. He had a feeling, he had a vibe, and he got it down quickly, confidently, and just did his best. Sally is meticulous with close attention to detail. She's putting in a lot of very specific things that weren't necessary, like the ruffles on the clothes, like the jewelry. She even added a little starburst and she's colouring now as well, which is interesting. Both she and Mike decided to colour their drawing. My sister, as you will see later on, chose not to colour hers. So Sally does have blonde hair, sort of golden blonde hair. She's got pale skin, not too pale. It's like she's got like a, I don't know how you describe it. It's pale, but it's like a golden skin colour. It's not, but that's sometimes the way that we see things inside doesn't translate very well to real world topics or real world people, but that's kind of the vibe. I feel like she got it down very well. She also has green eyes, and you can see that the way that she's coloured her green eyes is very soft compared to Mike's very, very vibrant green. She's added her freckles, she's added her blush, she's added that sort of golden tone to her pale skin that I was talking about, and then a little bit of her blush. And I do think that this looks kind of like Sally. It is interesting to see other alters draw themselves, because I do understand that maybe even in their own heads they look a little bit different to how we see them in the inner world, which is obviously going to look very different from the conceptualization of how you would see them just from a description or from us talking about them or knowing them in the body. When alters are able to draw themselves or find face claims, for example, it really does give you a better insight and into like the translation of how they view themselves. Sally is extremely beautiful inside and out, very graceful and very ethereal, which I think she captured perfectly. Thank you for helping, Sally. Right, this is where things get complicated, so buckle up. I drew this over not days, not weeks, but months. I started this drawing while I was still fusing and experiencing the fusing splitting situation that ended up with me and my twin sister. So I started drawing this without a full concept of how I looked, and I was drawing to try and figure out what felt correct because I couldn't see myself super clearly inside. I knew from the off that I had some characteristics that carried over from either Mara or Kaya, including the pointed ears and horns like Mara, but different from Mara's. In fact, at this point, the horns and the ears were the only things that I could see super clearly about myself, and I could see my sort of body shape. However, I could not understand my gender at this point in time, and it was so difficult to try and figure out anything else about how I looked. So I'd be drawing based off feelings. I'd put something down and be like, this doesn't feel quite right. And I'd try something else and it would be like, that's closer, but it still feels wrong. It feels off. So I'd be changing things until I hit something where I was like, oh, that's right. That feels right. That's close enough. And then I'd move on to something else. And I was so confused because as I was drawing this over a period of months, things would change. So at this point, I was like, okay, maybe I'm non-binary, maybe a little bit more masculine than feminine. And then as I continued with this drawing, there'd be days or moments of time where I'd be like, no, female, no, male, I have long hair. No, I don't have long hair. I hate that. I want to cut all my hair off. It makes me feel so dysphoric. It's so uncomfortable to, no, of course I have longer hair. It's this length. And I didn't understand that that was because me and my sister were sort of separate / together and existing almost as one person. We're identical twins and we hadn't quite understood that we were separate people yet. Something that also came quite early on in comparison to the other stuff was things like the shape of my eyes and the fact that I had a fringe. I still have dimples just like Kyle did and Kaya did as well. I knew things about my personality just from being within myself and also from what my friends have told me, for example, being quite mischievous, and I try to put that into my art as well. You can also see that the way I block out my art is very different from both the people I've been before and Mike, who you've seen in this video, and Sally, who you've seen in this video. I use fine lines for detail and then thicker lines to outline the edges of my drawing to make it pop. And also for parts that I want people to pay more attention to. For example, my eyes and the expression that I'm using in my eyes. I stylize that. It looks kind of, I guess, manga-ish. I focused a lot on shapes like rhomboids for the eyes and very round nose, round lips. At this point, I knew what my face looked like. I knew that this is what my face looked like. I knew the mouth was still a little bit off. I knew that I had the fringe. This is where I was getting a little bit confused because I was like, do I have a full fringe or is it sort of a side part? My sister has more of a side part. I have a full fringe, and that's where the confusion was coming in. So again, I was trying things. Here is where I was trying to figure out how long my hair was. This is where the confusion was coming in between me and my sister again of the hair length, because my sister's hair is longer than my hair. But at this point, still didn't know that we weren't the same person. So I was going off vibes. I was going off vibes and hopes and dreams and coffee. I also found it difficult to be able to draw the way that my horns attach to my head, because they kind of just continue from my skull, not outwards, but backwards. They curl back from my skull and then curve around behind my ears and then sort of come up around sort of the middle of my chin back towards the front of my face. And one of the reasons that I knew for sure that I did have horns very early on was because I was thinking about it while sort of being half in front / slightly inside while I was co-con with Kem. And he was so irritated at me fretting about this and going back and forth. Do I have horns? I know I can feel them, but I can't see what they look like. And he yanked on my horn because it's good to hold because it's a curve. So he yanked it and pulled my head to the side and was like, yes, you have horns. Shut up about it. So that's how I knew for certain, because I could feel the pull. At this point, I thought that I was sure of what length my hair was. Wait for it. I was not. There you go. This is closer to what my hair length actually is inside, and also to what we ended up cutting it to. We cut it sort of a mid-length outside. Another thing that I struggled with early on was the color of my eyes. My eyes are a sort of browny red color. My hair is a sort of mid-level brown, whereas our body's hair is dark brown, slightly more tanned than Kaya or Nin or Chloe, a little bit more tanned than the body. That's not saying very much because the body and people I've been before are paper white. Paper white. At this point, things were still feeling off. I was not happy with the mouth. That is not my mouth. The eyes were like a little bit. The hair is spot on. The horns are spot on. I was happy with that. And here you can see me struggling with my mouth, trying to get it to look right, which was not going well for me. There's a point where I shade in the nose, and I had a sort of eureka moment where I was like, perfect, that's it. That's looking at my nose. I've got it down. That's not happened yet. Just wait for it. The eyes are also too bright a red at this point. My eyes are a brown red, not this kind of like scary vampire staring into your soul type red. This was a little closer for my mouth, but it still wasn't quite right. And I was still a little bit confused at this point with gender. So I was flip-flopping between how feminine my eyes were being. I'm not a particularly masculine looking guy anyway. I'm quite a feminine looking guy, but I'm still a guy. My nose is now correct. My nose has been put in. That is my nose. I could not make my nose look more accurate than that. The last thing I did was add some darker eyeshadow, and that is pretty close to what I look like on the inside. I have some features that carried over from the people that I were before. I am a demon alter in the same way that Mara was. Internalized a lot of that shit while we were processing it, worked through it, and this is what the result of Kaya and Mara was. This is the other result of what Kaya and Mara was. This is my sister's drawing. You can already see from the start we've got slightly different styles. You'll be able to see that our faces are very similar, but not only the pose that she drew was different, but her sketchy style is a lot more free. One of the few ways in which we differ is that she is a lot more quick to action and a lot more reactive than I am. She's more impulsive. I'm also quite impulsive. She's very impulsive. And I think that maybe shows in the way that she chooses to draw. She just does what she wants. She puts it down. It's very sketchy. It's very loose. It's quite wild. And I really, really like it. She didn't spend too long on this, but she spent a lot longer than Mike did. She wanted it to look right. You can definitely see the similarities in how we look. She is just female, I am male. We have slightly different horns. Her eye color is slightly more pinky browny red than my just browny red, but other than that, we look pretty similar. Her hair's a bit longer, and that's about it, but you can definitely see the art styles are pretty damn different. When I saw that my sister had done a sketch, but it was, again, still very sketchy and black and white, just lines, I wanted to try and color it in and put it in with my painting and see if I could make it look more cohesive so that we could be together in one painting. One thing that I noticed about the sketches as well is that my sister was the only one who drew sort of like lines to figure out where on the face each facial feature should be sitting. She was the only one to do that. Me and my sister are quite complicated in the way that we sometimes share a body in the inner world. And it's very complicated to understand even for us. So I wasn't sure how to put that down on paper. So in the end, I just ended up with her behind me, but at an angle where it almost looks like two heads on one body, which is not how it looks inside, but it's the best way that I could find to visualize the way that that feels. We are almost one person. It's very likely that we will fuse in the near future, I believe. Most likely, I think that we just need some closure from the situation with the stalker and the arrest and the court case in order to be able to fully process that trauma, which led to us not being able to fully integrate in the way that we should have done through Kaya and Mara's fusion in the first place. And that once that's sorted and we can process it properly, I reckon that we will fuse into one singular alter the way that we should have been had that trauma never happened. But now that this painting's done, you can see that we are pretty much identical. The only differences really are the shape of our horns. My eyes are browny red, her eyes are slightly more pinky reddy brown. And other than that, she just has a bit longer hair than me, but we are otherwise identical.
We hope that you enjoyed that. This was a video that was voted for and suggested by our patrons. So if you would like to suggest what kind of videos you would like to see next and help shape the Dissociative project, then you can do that on our Patreon. You can check it out for free, or you can join for as low as £1 a month. And on that £1 or $1 a month tier, you can vote for other people's suggestions in the poll, which is how we got here. Don't forget to check out the other videos in this series if you would like to see the others My Alters Draw Themselves videos. And if you do join our Patreon, you can also access bloopers for every video we make. You can get merchandise, sneak peeks for upcoming videos before anybody else. You can get exclusive videos. You can get all sorts of things on our Patreon. If you would like to support us in getting justice against a man called Sergio Costa and you don't know what he's done, we have a playlist called What Happened to Dissociated, which explains from the beginning with screenshots part of what he did to us and then a lot of cool updates and what he continued to do over the last 4-year period. It's mind-blowing, trust me, you will not be bored. If you'd like to support us, we raise the funds for our lawyers through a site called Crowd Justice, which exists only to fundraise for legal cases. Crowd Justice is connected to our lawyers, so any money that's sent to Crowd Justice bypasses us completely. It is sent straight to our lawyers, doesn't come into our bank account, we can't touch it, and that money can only be used by our lawyers for the case against Sergio Costa. It can't be used for anything else. So if you would like to support us, please consider sharing the video, the playlist, or the Crowd Justice link, which is crowdjustice.com/case/dissociated, or donating if you are able to and you would like to. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and ring the bell if you want notifications, or YouTube won't tell you when we upload, even if you're subscribed, which is crazy. But we hope that you have a lovely day. Thank you for watching and lots of love, everybody. Bye.